After studying this module, you will be able to theoretically understand different theories of profit, comparatively analyze the different theories of profit, know how different micro and macro economic concepts are applied to define and determine profit.
In this model, we'll understand and explain the concept of profit and how profit arises. Now, at the outset, we have to state that the implications of the word profit in economics are different from the sense in which the word profit is used in accounting. Here we need to draw a clear-cut distinction between explicit and implicit costs. Explicit costs are the costs incurred on factor inputs that have been hired from the factor market, and implicit cost is the cost incurred on factor inputs that are supplied by the entrepreneur itself. Now, in accounting, when we talk about profit, accounting concept of profit would be that from the total revenue, when we minus the explicit costs, the difference is the profit in terms of accounting concept of profit. But in economics, from the explicit profit, when we minus the implicit costs, what we get is the figure of profit. Now here we have to clearly understand the concept of implicit cost itself a little in little more detail. Like I said, implicit cost is the cost incurred on factor inputs that are supplied by the entrepreneur itself. Now, one of the factor inputs that is supplied by the entrepreneur is the function of entrepreneurship or the services of entrepreneurship. Now, in return for the services of entrepreneurship, the entrepreneur earns profit, and this profit that is earned is got to be clearly understood in the context and sense in which the word is being used in economics. Like, for example, if you look at firm under perfect competition, we say the firm in the long run usually earns only normal profits. Only the intra-marginal firms can earn supernormal profits even in the long run, but the marginal firm earns only normal profits. Now, question is the normal profit earned by the firms is a part of profit? The answer is no. Normal profit is the implicit cost of entrepreneurship. Therefore, when a firm is equating its AR/MR with MCAC, then at this point the firm is just breaking even. In the sense, it is earning only normal profit, which normal profit is the implicit cost of entrepreneurship. This is the minimum that the firm has to earn so as to remain in its present employment. If it does not earn even this much, then the firm will have to move over to some other industry. So therefore, what we are trying to stress here is that profit in economics essentially means economic profit, excess profit, or pure profit. And this pure profit is over and above the normal profit that is being earned by a firm. Now, the question that we will seek to answer and address in this particular module is as to how can this excess profit or supernormal profit emerge or arise.
The profit of an organization or firm is usually defined as total revenue over total cost. This is the amount of factor earning enjoyed by the entrepreneur class. In the standard literatures of microeconomics, the concept of profit maximization is widely used to determine equilibrium price and the demand for factor inputs as well as outputs. Several theories were developed to examine the origin and nature of profit. Hawley develops the risk-bearing theory, which suggests that the entrepreneur's profit is the reward of risk taken by him. However, Knight differentiates uncertainty from risk and explains that profit is generated due to the rise of uncertainty in the production process. On the other hand, Walker attempts to establish a relationship between the entrepreneur's ability and the profit generated from the production. According to him, profit is the reward of the entrepreneur's ability. Schumpeter suggests that profit arises due to innovation of new process of production or new products. Marxian theory suggests that capitalist entrepreneur derives profit by exploiting labor.
There are various explanations that have been put forward to explain the emergence of supernormal profit even in a competitive society. The earliest explanation that has been put forward to explain the emergence of profit is that it is somewhat similar to the concept of economic rent. Here what we are trying to stress is that even under perfect competition, whereas the marginal firm is earning only normal profit, which means no pure profit, no excess profit, the intra-marginal firms or the entrepreneurs, intra-marginal entrepreneurs, because of their superior ability or greater efficiency, are able to earn supernormal profits. So in this sense, profit becomes a reward for the superior ability of the entrepreneurs. So here this is somewhat similar to the Ricardian concept of rent. The other explanation, now this of course is considered to be one of the explanations, but not the complete explanation as to why and how profit can emerge. The other explanation that has been put forward to explain the emergence of profit is in terms of the dynamic forces that are at work in an economy. We are referring to the Schumpeter's theory of profit as a dynamic surplus. Now, in terms of the dynamic surplus concept of profit, what we are trying to explain is that, look, in case of a static stationary economy, where the same set of forces are repeating themselves both on the demand side as well as on the supply side, supernormal profit or pure profit as we are calling it cannot emerge. Profit will arise only because of the dynamic forces that are at work in an economy.
The risk-bearing theory of profit is established by Hawley. It suggests that the entrepreneur's profit depends on his risk-taking behavior. That is, how much risk the entrepreneur will bear during the production determines the amount of profit enjoyed by him. During production, the entrepreneur may not know the exact demand for his product in the market or the change in consumers' taste and preferences that affects the market demand. If the entrepreneur's production exceeds the demand, he will incur loss for not selling his entire output. This implies that there is a demand side risk associated with production. If there is no compensation or reward for risk, there will be no incentive for taking risk. The nature of risk and the risk bearing capacity vary across industries. The higher the risk undertaken, the more will be the profit earned. However, it should be noted that the amount of profit actually depends on how efficiently the risk is managed by the entrepreneur and not the amount of risk borne by him. According to the risk bearing theory, an entrepreneur envisages various types of risks. An entrepreneur faces risk in production when technology becomes obsolete, when more rivals enter into the production, or when new products or new processes of production are launched, a firm will meet competition risk. When there is drastic fall in prices due to economic recession, business cycle risks will arise. A firm also faces risks related to macroeconomic policy changes. For instance, if a government adopts policies like price control, tax policy, import or export restriction, etc., which may produce risk. An entrepreneur may be the gainer or the loser in these situations. These risks cannot be avoided by buying insurance or in any other way. Therefore, entrepreneurs have to undertake these risks and claim profit as a reward for bearing these risks. Uncertainty bearing theory. Professor Knight suggests that profit is the reward for bearing uncertainty. In the theory of production, the assumption of certainty is somewhat unrealistic, as with the progress of the economy, the entrepreneur has to face uncertainty in the sphere of production. When production takes place simply for self-consumption, there is no uncertainty. However, if production takes place for commercial purposes, that is price and output dependent on the interaction between buyers and sellers, then uncertainty arises in the decisions of entrepreneurs. This uncertainty generates profit. According to Knight, there is difference between risk and uncertainty. Many situations may arise during the process of production which can be anticipated or whose probability of occurrence can be statistically estimated. These situations are known as insurable risks. The loss from insurable risks can be avoided by paying some fixed premium. Therefore, these insurable risks do not cause uncertainty. For instance, risks are associated with the loss of property due to fire, accidents, or loss due to theft and robbery, etc. These losses can be recovered by purchasing insurances. However, some events which cannot be predicted or whose probability of occurrence cannot be easily estimated are known as uninsurable risks. No insurance company is ready to provide insurance coverage against these kinds of risks. Thus, these uninsurable risks can generate uncertainty in the process of production. For example, uncertainty can be reflected in the outcomes of price decisions taken by firms or the facts that there is no prior information regarding the rise or fall of product price. There is no provision for insurance against commercial losses which may arise due to price decisions, output, product variation, etc. Entrepreneurs claim profit as rewards for undertaking these non insurable risks or uncertainties. According to Knight, uncertainty in production can be thought of as a factor of production like other factors, say land, labor, capital, etc. The price for undertaking this uncertainty is therefore considered as part of the cost of production. Like other factors, there exists supply price of uncertainty. This supply price is known as profit. In the production process, since entrepreneurs supply the uncertainty factor, they enjoy profit. It should be noted that in Knight's theory, in the midst of uncertainty, if producers' anticipations regarding output and price decisions are found correct, then they enjoy profits, otherwise, they incur losses.
Let us take an example. When the VCRs were launched for the first time in the world, in India, VCRs were sold to begin with at an exorbitant price of anywhere between 90,000 to 1,10,000. And the first batch of suppliers earned a huge profit. This attracted new entrants into the industry. We reached a stage where today a DVD player, which is an improvement over a VCR, is available for around 4,000. What does this mean? There was an innovation in terms of the electronics industry. This innovation led to emergence of massive supernormal profit, huge supernormal profit. So this profit which emerged was essentially a reward for the dynamic forces that were at work on the supply side. And because of the inventions and innovations that happened on the supply side, and because of the profit that followed the innovation, the result of that was it attracts. So there are dynamic forces at work. These dynamic forces at work lead to emergence of profit, and this emergence of profit eventually gets competed away because of the new firms that are attracted into the industry. This is basically an example of forces on the supply side. You could also have inventions and innovations on the demand side, wherein people might take fancy to certain designs, certain patterns, change in lifestyle, change in taste and preferences, etc., and as a result of which huge profits might occur. So in terms of profit as a reward for dynamic forces that are at work in an economy, essentially what we are trying to stress on is that profit will not emerge unless there were dynamic forces that were at play in an economy. We can cite innumerable examples wherein we have seen that inventions and innovations have resulted into huge profits which have been competed away because of the new firms that were attracted into the industry, and that led to emergence of even newer products.
Rent theory of profit. The rent theory of profit was developed by Walker, suggests that profit earned by the entrepreneur is considered as a reward for his efficiency and ability. The entire earning of the entrepreneur is not pure profit. Suppose an entrepreneur uses his own capital, land, and devotes his own labor in the production process. The pure profit is then obtained by deducting the payments of all factors employed by him from his total earnings. According to Walker, this pure profits not only depends on the ability of the entrepreneur, but also the ability of the marginal entrepreneur. The marginal entrepreneur is that entrepreneur who can only manage the cost of production. Thus, marginal entrepreneur operates at the break-even point where price equals average cost. The efficiency of an entrepreneur relative to marginal entrepreneur is measured by how much price exceeds average cost of production. The greater the efficiency of the entrepreneur as compared to the marginal entrepreneur, the higher will be the rent obtained by the entrepreneur. The theory of rent and the rent theory of profit are quite similar to each other. In the rent theory of land, there is no rent on marginal land. Similarly, in the case of profit, marginal entrepreneur enjoys zero profit or normal profit. The rent of a land arises if the fertility of the land is relatively higher than the marginal land. By adopting the same approach, we can say that the profit of a firm depends on the efficiency and ability of the entrepreneur relative to the marginal entrepreneur. It can also be argued that rent is surplus and does not determine price, while price determines the rent. Similarly, profit is also a surplus value and it does not determine price, while change in price will cause the change in profit.
A very interesting example could be in the context of the emergence of the ballpoint pen industry. It would be interesting to note that the first ballpoint pen was sold by Schaeffers at a fancy price of $50. We are talking about 70s or 60s, late 60s, early 70s. No, sorry, it was around the 60s when the ballpoint pen was introduced with the slogan that you do not have to refill it every time you write. And in 6 months' time, Schaeffers, selling their ballpoint pens at a fancy price of $50, made a few $billion as the profit. Within 6 months, it attracted new players into the industry, and the same ballpoint pen was selling at a price of around 50 cents, which is half a dollar. So here we are talking about profit as a reward, as a profit. We are attributing the emergence of profit to the dynamic forces that are at work in an economy. We can talk about innumerable examples from this field.
The innovation theory of profit is developed by Schumpeter. The creation of new products or new process of production is called invention, while innovation is the commercial utilization of invention. Thus, the innovator derives profit by utilizing commercially the newly invented products.
The later economists, what they've said is that, look, because of these dynamic forces that are at play in an economy, there are certain kinds of risks and uncertainties that the entrepreneur has to bear, and these risks may relate to risks on the side of demand or risks on the side of supply, and we need to draw a distinction between risks and uncertainties. Risks, basically, whether on the demand side or supply side, are those which can be anticipated and against which and insurance cover would be available. Therefore, the premium which is paid to cover those risks become a part of the cost of production, and therefore that should not be regarded as a part of the profit. However, there are certain uncertainties which cannot be anticipated, against which no cover is available, and therefore we cannot seek any kind of insurance against those kind of uncertainties. So there are explanations put forward in terms of emergence of profit, in terms of what is known as profit as a reward for risk bearing, or later profit as a reward for uncertainty bearing.
An entrepreneur is said to be an innovator when he brings a new product for commercial purposes and can earn supernormal profits. However, this supernormal profit can be obtained only in the short run. This short run supernormal profit induces others to introduce similar kinds of products or similar process of production, and in the long run, this additional profit will be reduced. Let us now discuss the theory of monopoly power. The theory of monopoly power states that profit arises due to the lack of competition in the market. In a perfectly competitive market, because of free entry and free exit, a firm will earn only normal profit.
Now, another explanation that has been provided for emergence of profit is to be understood in the context of the fact that profit is profit in the sense in which the word is being used here in our module and discussion is a profit can only emerge on account of the monopoly power that is at play, which means that profit cannot be earned under competitive conditions. Profit essentially arises on account of the monopoly power that the firms may come to enjoy, and we must appreciate that when the firms are operating under monopoly conditions, they are faced with a downward sloping demand curve, but the MR is falling at a steeper rate, and the equilibrium is attained at the point where the MC equals MR, and the price at that point will be higher than the MR. That means the divergence of AR MR will lead to a situation where the firm will invariably be enjoying monopoly power. So essentially we are saying that in this context, profit would be a reward for the emergence of monopoly power.
The perfect competition is hardly observed in reality. In the real world, there exist entry barrier, lack of information about the product, and products are not always homogeneous. In this imperfectly competitive situation, a firm with superior position in all respects enjoys market power or monopoly power in deciding prices and outputs. By virtue of its monopoly power, it can charge higher price for its product. Thus, this superior firm obtains higher profit than the other weaker firms. The greater the monopoly power enjoyed by an entrepreneur, the higher will be the profit obtained by him. Marginal productivity theory suggests that any factor input is paid according to their marginal revenue productivity. For example, a worker receives wage rate equal to the marginal revenue productivity of the last unit of labor employed. By virtue of the same logic, it can be said that the profit of the entrepreneur should be the marginal revenue productivity of the marginal entrepreneur. According to Marshall, marginal productivity of the entrepreneur can be determined by the difference between the level of output produced by the entrepreneur and the level of output without the entrepreneur. Now, the question is, how far is this direct measure of marginal productivity of the entrepreneur given by Marshall valid in reality? An entrepreneur can directly estimate the marginal productivity of any other factor, while it cannot be possible directly to measure the marginal productivity of the entrepreneur by increasing or decreasing the number of entrepreneurs. This is because if the entrepreneur is replaced, the production will be stopped. Marshall also talks about the principle of natural selection in the process of production. This implies that entrepreneurs who are efficient can survive, and inefficient entrepreneurs are forced to exit from the market in the long run. Since the efficient entrepreneurs enjoy higher productivity, they can survive in the long run. The dynamic theory of profit. The dynamic theory of profit, developed by J.B. Clark, suggests that profit is generated in a society which is dynamic in nature. The dynamic nature of a society means that the population, size of capital, level of output, taste and preferences of people of that society are changing. All these changes cause the gap between price and unit cost. Profit arises when price exceeds unit cost. In a static society, there are no changes in the above variables, and as a consequence, the difference between price and unit cost does not arise. Thus, profit is not generated in a static society. There are risks or uncertainties associated with the dynamic society, and as a result of this, it is difficult to forecast the future positions of price and output level. Thus, the entrepreneur claims profit as a reward for undertaking these risks or uncertainties in the dynamic society. Labor exploitation theory. Labor exploitation theory was developed by Karl Marx. This theory suggests that profit is the result of the exploitation of labor. According to Marx, the laborer only creates the value of output. The additional value of output over the value of payments to the factors of production should be accrued to the laborer. This additional value, known as surplus value, is the origin of profit. This surplus value is appropriated by the entrepreneur instead of the laborer. For example, suppose a laborer puts 10-hour work efforts and generates 100 units value of output, but he is paid only 40 units value of output, which is equivalent to 4 hours units of labor. Thus, the laborer creates a surplus value of 60 units. The owner of the firm will pocket this surplus value or profit as a return for his capital invested. The Marxian theory of profit also suggests that the stock of capital in an economy increases through the reinvestment of the profit earned by the capitalist. Increase in capital stock will lead to increase in productivity of labor. The wage should be increased with the increase in productivity of labor, but actually wage does not rise. The entrepreneur's profit will rise. Even if the wage rate tends to increase over time, the entrepreneur will employ labor saving technology. The resulting effect is that the demand for labor decreases and the wage rate remains the same. Since the laborer is denied from receiving the surplus value generated due to rise in productivity of labor, according to Marx, the laborer is said to be exploited. Profit is, therefore, the result of the exploitation of labor in the capitalist economy. In Marx's theory of profit, the capital and productivity of capital do not get importance, while labor is considered as the sole factor responsible for generating surplus value or profit. Let us now summarize what we have learned in this module. Profit is the amount of factor earning enjoyed by the entrepreneur class. Hawley suggests that the entrepreneur's profit is the reward of the risk taken by him. According to his risk bearing theory of profit, the nature of risk and the risk bearing capacity vary across industries, and the higher the risk undertaken, the more will be the profit earned. Professor Knight develops the uncertainty bearing theory of profit, which suggests that profit is the reward for bearing uncertainty. He identifies the existence of two types of risks in the process of production. One is insurable risk, which does not generate uncertainty in the production, and the other one is non insurable risk, which cannot be predicted. This non insurable risk triggers uncertainty, and the entrepreneur receives profit as a reward for undertaking this uncertainty. The rent theory of profit, developed by Walker, suggests that profit earned by the entrepreneur is considered as a reward for his efficiency and ability. According to this theory, the greater the efficiency of the entrepreneur as compared to the marginal entrepreneur, the higher will be the rent obtained by the entrepreneur. The innovation theory of profit is developed by Schumpeter. According to this theory, the innovator derives profit by utilizing commercially the newly invented products. Monopoly power theory of profit suggests that profit arises due to a lack of competition in the market. The greater the monopoly power enjoyed by an entrepreneur, the higher will be the profit obtained by him. Marginal productivity theory suggests that any factor input is paid according to their marginal revenue productivity. By virtue of the same logic, it can be said that the profit of the entrepreneur should be the marginal revenue productivity of the marginal entrepreneur. An entrepreneur can directly estimate the marginal productivity of any other factor, while it cannot be possible directly to measure the marginal productivity of the entrepreneur by increasing or decreasing the number of entrepreneurs. The dynamic theory of profit, developed by J.B. Clark, suggests that profit is generated in a society which is dynamic in nature. Labor exploitation theory, developed by Karl Marx, suggests that profit is generated in a society which is dynamic in nature. Labor exploitation theory, developed by Karl Marx, suggests that profit is the result of the exploitation of labor.
Now the question is, which are these explanations should be considered as a complete explanation? And to that, essentially what the economists are agreed is that none of these explanations individually really explains fully the emergence of profit. In fact, the emergence of profit could be attributed to each one of these elements. It arises because of the superior ability of the entrepreneurs. It also arises because of the dynamic forces that are at work in an economy. It also arises because of the ability of an entrepreneur to better anticipate the risks that are associated with the business, and to an extent it also emerges on account of the monopoly power or the degree of monopoly power that the entrepreneur may enjoy.